Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on YouTube? It's Filthy and we're back with another video. Today we're doing the Season 27 Barbarian Starter Guide for Diablo 3. I think Barb is an excellent choice to start the season. Really was a toss-up between that and the Demon Hunters, to which I think possibly offers the fastest start. A very casual friendly build Barb. We can make some easy T16 builds, we can make some easy GR builds. You can get a lot of XP as a Z-Barb, which is pretty easy to play, probably the most casual way of grouping it in the game. Arguably that or the ZDH, but either which way, a very good start. So Season 27 is Light's Calling, that's the name of the theme. It all revolves around Angelic Crucibles and Sanctified Items. But today what we're going to do is we're going to take you from level 1 to endgame, from 0 to hero, or beta soy boy to alpha giga chad. And Barb absolutely does have a giga chad build this season, which is something I think we're going to work towards. I'm going to play a lot of Barb this season. I'm not going to start it, but I'm going to play an awful lot of it. But this is going to be my guide if I was to start a Barb. As with the other videos in this series that we've done so far, the Demon Hunter and last season's ones, timestamps are in the description. If you watch the Demon Hunter one from a couple of days ago, there will be quite a bit of repetition, so feel free to skip around. The link to this actual Google Drive document, so the presentation itself, is in the description. I know sometimes servers go down and videos go down or whatever, so if you want the document yourself, you can grab it, play around with it, change anything on it. It will always be there. I'll put some video links in the description as well, and we'll talk about those as we go. As always, a like brightens my day. Getting really excited for Season 27. I think it's going to be a good one. So what is new? Well, for leveling, nothing. The season theme, the Sanctified Items, don't start appearing until level 70, so you're not going to have any change for leveling. So it's the kind of bread and butter, what we've done hundreds of times at this point by now. But when we do get to level 70, we get Angelic Crucibles. They drop. It's like a white item. It is usable like a consumable, like a gift. And what it'll do is when you click on an item with it, it will perfect the item. So in essence, it'll make it primal, and it will also give you a special power. So it's called a Sanctified Item. Each class has 3 powers. You can only equip 1 Sanctified Item per character, so you can't deck yourself out with 13 legendary primal Sanctified Items. You can only have 1. Barb's got some good powers. There's Whirlwind one, which will group everything up for you and hold it. That's going to be very important for pushing. Affects the starting set, which is the Wrath of the Waste a little bit, I think, potentially. You've also got the Hammer of the Ancients one, where Hota fires off in every direction. Both of those are powers that make Lord Hota very attractive. And then there's another one which is a bit weird, that revolves around casting Wrath of the Berserker and getting extra damage for a bit of time. This is what the Sanctified Items look like. So we've got over here on the left hand side this white beam going up. It's got the Primal Swirl, so it's going to look a little bit like an Ethereal. They dropped obviously with a kind of tealy blue colour. These are much more angelic and white looking. And then this here is Blade of Prophecy, once I've used the Angelic Crucible on it, so perfect stats. And we also have the Sanctified Power for the Crusader there. Now, there are some other new things to go with this Sanctified Item business. So they do give cool stuff when you salvage them, so you can get bounty mats, death's breaths, blood shards. I know one of the community ideas at the moment is to just sanctify puzzle rings and just basically use them as ancient puzzles. That's potentially for another video, but if you do want to salvage any by the end of the season, you will get some interesting stuff out of it. The drop rate, as far as we can work out, is about 5 times a socket gift. So if you play and you get like 10 sockets a season normally, you will probably get yourself about five times that for Sanctified Items. So 50 Angelic Crucibles making 50 Sanctified Items. Another big change is the Echoing Nightmare XP has been significantly nerfed. The mode is still in the game, which is great. If you want to play multiple builds, it's a really good way of getting 125 level augments, but just know you're not going to get much XP from it. We'll have to see how much XP we actually get once it does go live, but I'm guessing it's probably only going to be worthwhile doing up to wave 125 to collect your augment, or maybe going for the Bandit Shrine and stopping as soon as you're seeing that. One of the main changes this season is the Guardian set buff. This is a craftable set with Hadrig, so you will have to do bounties to get the plan, but it will double your main stat on the items equipped, so it is pretty powerful. Now, it's the 3-piece that does this, so you will have to take a Rogue, but I think potentially Whirlwind, you could well use the Guardian set with it, and we'll just have to sort of see how that goes. That could make Whirlwind a pretty decent speed farm build early on. Again, we'll have to kind of try that once the season goes live. Some important dates for you. The season starts on the 26th of August, so a week from date of recording. Do not do your challenge rift when it resets on Monday, which is the 22nd of August, because otherwise you're going to be big sad because you're going to miss out on your goodie bag, which is always very helpful for leveling. Now, the first steps once the season is live, you can either create a character or rebirth one. I'm a big fan of rebirthing because I'm normally tight on character space, but just make sure that when you do rebirth, it's going to send anything that your character has in their inventory to your inbox. So I would recommend completely cleaning out the character so they've got nothing on them before rebirthing them if you can. Once you made your character, log into the season. I like to set foot in Sanctuary just so that I know the game definitely has me as registered as a seasonal player. We're then going to back out, beat the challenge rift using either Raxantrax or Woodijo's guide. Both of them normally do guides for the season, normally pretty thorough, pretty easy to follow. Once we've got that and we've got a goodie bag, we're going to put on a pet and stick on some wings, some cosmetics, because obviously we want to look the part for our new seasonal journey. Now, inside the challenge rift bag, once you do open it, you're going to get some materials. Probably the most important thing is to re-roll a two-handed level 70 weapon, trying to get reduced level requirements. So you can also craft some early weapons, so two-handed axes, for example at level 8, 16, 21, 29, so on and so forth. You also get DBs, so Death's Breath, enough to train up all of your artisans and to do one upgrade and one upgrade only in the cube. You get quite a lot of gold in your goodie bag. This is really nice for buying vendor gear, and we of course get the 475 blood shards to spend. Now, early steps is probably to take the follower's weapon, so make sure you steal that because it will be quite a nice damage upgrade. You're going to buy some life per second gear from a vendor. You probably want to do a boss bounty, so Magda or Zoltan Cool. I just like those two because they're super easy, very close to get to, both in Act 2. And you can sometimes get some decent gear out of there, and it just kind of makes the early few levels so much easier. The next step is then going to be to go and get the cube, which is located in Act 3, Ruins of Sescheron. It's on the second level. It shouldn't be too hard to find, but it is pretty crucial to get this early. And if you haven't already done so at this point, you're going to want to train Hadrig and the Mystic. Once you get back and you've got the cube, it's now time to do the fun stuff, which is upgrading the weapon. Now, there's a few options for Barb. I'll talk about all of them. Generally speaking, Barbs always say to me, people who level Barb, they always go two-handed mighty weapon, but there are two other options. So the spear was buffed last season, so there's only 2 spears in the Barb loot pool, Ariat's Law and the 300 spear, so it's a 50-50 shot for either. Now, whilst that's great because it is a guaranteed multiplier, these skills are a little bit later in the unlock pool, so you don't get to use them straight away. And I'd say it's probably a lot more attractive when the starting set is going to be Raekor, because Raekor will obviously use both these weapons. Most people will go for the two-handed mighty weapon, and there's a few decent ones. Blade of the Tribes, which will automatically cast Earthquake for you when you shout. That's at a 14% chance. We've got the Gavel of Judgments, which I put that in gold because, for me, this is always the gold standard because you run out of resource leveling, you've got no fury really to speak of, and being able to cast Hammer of the Ancients and have it fill up fury for you is just absolutely fantastic. We do also have the Fury of the Vanished Peak, which buffs up the Seismic Slam, but with the two-handed mighty weapon, like most of the time, over 50%, 57% to be exact, you're going to be shit out of luck and you're not going to get anything useful, so bear that in mind. There is a bit of a risk with that one. You can also do one-handed mighty weapons. I didn't recommend this last season, but I've put it down this time around simply because there is a 12.5% chance you'll get an Ambo's Pride, which is pretty much the main weapon to unlock lots of the Whirlwind Rend damage potential. So if you feel like YOLOing it, really going straight out to max and saying, right, I want my Ambo's Pride immediately when I get my 2-piece Wrath of the Waste, Well, 12.5%, 1 in 8 chance, it's not too bad. Now, 62.5% of the other choices do have modifiers, but they're not great. So you can get stuff that buffs Frenzy, Bash, there's various different options. None of them I'd say are great. Most barbs don't like playing them. Some of them are conditional, like Remorseless. You have to have Wrath of the Berserker and Call of the Ancients up to deal damage. The Fjord Cutter you have to, I think, slow to deal extra damage. So they are a bit fiddly, and they're not particularly great. So most barbs kind of ignore this. But as I say, you do have the Jackpot, Ambo's Pride. And then a quarter of the time you'll probably get one of the Bulkathos Blades, so that isn't going to be helpful for leveling, but it might well be helpful when you get to 70, because Bulkathos does go quite well with Whirlwind. So pros and cons, Spears is the guaranteed modifier, but as I say, those skills are only unlockable at level 17 and 26, so that's quite a way into your seasonal 1 to 70, so maybe not quite the value that you would hope. Two-handed Mighty Weapon, I've put in gold. I still think that is probably going to be the best shout, mainly because if you do happen to get lucky and get a good one, there are braces that you can pair, and stacking a modifier on top of a modifier is very handy for leveling as fast as possible. One-handed Mighty Weapon, the main pro as I see it is you can get an Ambos, but I still would probably personally go two-handed Mighty Weapon. As for spending your blood shards, braces is normally your go-to option as a barb, simply because you can get modifiers just off your braces alone. So you've got the destruction braces, which buff up seismic slam, 62% chance if you spend all of your shards on that at level 1. The loot pool is the same up to level 16, so any time between then is fine. Same probability for the Hota braces, braces of the first men, 62%. And about 13-14% of the time you're going to be completely out of luck and you're going to miss a braces with your 475 blood shards. There are other options. I know people who group recommend rolling for Band of Might for a 80% damage reduction, 61% chance of getting that. I don't like that. I always think that's a little bit inefficient, even if I'm grouping as a barb. I mean, I rolled it last season when I started barb for our 4-player group, missed it. Felt a bit kind of rubbish because I would probably rather have had braces. But let's say you hit the braces, you can go for the ring if you want. You've also got Leoric's Crown in the pool, which is a helm, so that'll give you extra XP leveling 1 to 70. And then Poxfold trousers, pants, they will help for massacre bonusing, so again, a lot of people do recommend them. And sometimes I like to go for loot socks just because it helps mobility. You can cast leap a few extra times. The most important step, I think, for leveling past the modifiers, so the most thing that you've definitely got more control over, is re-rolling a secondary for reduced level requirement. So we tend to pick a two-handed mace because it's got the highest damage range, but it does work on an axe. You're going to craft a level 71, so you will have trained Hadrig, as we talked about earlier in the guide. You're looking for crowd control on the secondary properties, so slow, freeze, stun, something like that. Ideally it has life per hit. I say if you want to be absolutely complete pogging out, it probably wants strength, vitality, life per hit as well, because when you jack it up to Torment 6 with a level 70 weapon, you really are going to struggle to survive, unless maybe you found the Band of Might, but yeah, that's kind of what we're looking for. Realistically, you've got limited mats to do this, so any kind of crowd control on the secondary I'm going to roll it. You just need to be careful not to run out of resources. So some examples here on the left, we've got a really bad one. This is not rolled with crowd control on the secondary. So if we clicked, for instance, Monster Grant XP on the left hand side one, that would have all the crowd control options, so it'd be really hard to get reduced level requirement. In the middle, this is a better one because it does have the CC on it. It's actually got vitality and strength as well, so that would be a pretty good one. And then on the right hand side, we've got almost perfect, because it's got damage percent rather than strength, but it does have life per hit on, it does have a secondary CC, so we've re-rolled the other property, not the crowd control one, and 30 is the max level that you can hit. Now obviously, when you are doing your upgrade, when you're crafting your two-handed mighty weapon, and you're upgrading it, check both of those when you make them. You might just completely get baller lucky. If you upgrade and you get a two-handed mighty weapon that is ancient, it can roll with up to 40 level requirements on it. Mega low chance because it's a really low chance for it to just drop on the item. It's a 1 in 10 for it to be ancient, but always worth having a look. You never know. One of these days, I swear I'm going to hit that. Now in terms of leveling, early on you can go and do the Halls of Agony. The monsters there are pretty weak, and that will help you get up to like maybe level 8 or something like that. Fields of Misery is the classic area we used to go around, so you go and put your Rend dots on everything and run around, covering the whole map, trying to get a massacre bonus. But really the gold standard of leveling now is the Temple of the Firstborn in Act 2, because the Cursed Chest I think has got like an 80% chance to spawn, so you can try and chain your enemies together for massacre bonus leveling for extra XP on your way to the chest. And then when you get to the chest again, you can get up to kill streaks of like 100, 150, 200. Obviously it does take a bit of practice, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but you will always get at least a few 30, 50, maybe even the odd 100 chain, even if you're not very good at it, and it is the fastest way to level. If you do get bored of this, another consideration is Ruins of Session on Act 3. You might have noticed on your way to going to get the cube that there is a fairly decent kill chain you can put together there. And again, that's got a fairly decent spawn rate for a cursed chest. A lot of the times on the bounty it might actually be listed, so that is quite a good one. Always feel free to take a break, go and do some rifts if you want. They are definitely less boring than running Act 2, the same map over and over again, but it is definitely slower. Slight advantage is that you do actually get better items in rifts, but the loot pool opens up so much at 70, again it's probably not worth it. Some leveling tips as a barb, I always just say pick the highest difficulty that is comfortable for you. Do not stress about having to do it on Torment 1, Torment 2, Torment 4, Torment 6, whatever. Just play to whatever it is that makes you comfortable. Red gem in the helm for extra XP, red gem in the weapon for damage. Transmog any crafted items that you make, so if you're crafting those axes or maces or whatever it is, make sure that you transmog them, so change their appearance, pick the cheapest one that you can, and this will help you avoid auto salvage. Buy rings and amulets with plus damage from vendors. Again, this opens up around level 8, level 11, so just keep an eye out for them. Now if you do go for the cursed chest leveling, which as I say is the gold standard, I recommend fully exploring the zone. It's not the fastest way to level. The fastest way to level is to load into the map, check the tile set very quick and learn basically whether this is going to have a cursed chest on it or not. I personally explore the full zone because I like opening the resplendent chests. It gives me a lot of gear, it helps me keep my barb or character, whatever character is I'm leveling, quite powerful, because dying absolutely sucks. Barb has access to Rend, that's a dot skill, that's very good. Barb does not have access to many range skills, so you might want to take weapon throw because that will allow you to cast something across the screen and keep your kill chain up a little easier. Obviously any big AoE skills will make it easy, so Seismic Slam's quite a nice one, that's got a decent range, decent AoE. And after each run, when you do quit the game, once you've done your cursed chest run and you're making a new game, I always go and check the vendors, because we've got so much gold, we can buy gear, so why rely on RNG when we can just basically use our gold to buy stuff. Again, you shouldn't need this, but if you do find yourself completely, maybe you've not got the re-rolling quite right, you've run out of mats, you've had bad luck, you can go and do that boss bounty, like we said at the start, Magda Zoltan Cool, on the highest difficulty that you can manage, and that should give you a nice little gear boost, because the chest at the end is going to be pretty nice. Some barbarian skills, I mean this really does depend on what you get out of your challenge rift bag and upgrade. There is so many different modifiers for barb, it's very, very difficult I think to write a general barb guide. But as I said earlier, Rend is a good dot, that will keep ticking over time, it will keep your massacre bonus up. I tend to like using Leap because as well as giving some ability, it gives quite a decent armor buff once you get the Iron Impact rune. That will help keep you alive if you're trying to push the envelope a little bit with the difficulties. Ground Stomp can be nice because again it's a very good defensive skill and you can use it to group, so pull mobs together to make it easy to hit with your spender a little later. And Furious Charge is another mobility option, again just giving you a little bit of defense as well with that one. Now once you do get to 70, we're going to get the Wrath of the Waste set. I've not quite put this in gold, I've put it in a little bit further down. It's a good set, it's very easy and very cheap to get going with the T16 build. We're going to have to see, as we say, whether we can fit the Guardian set into this one. I think we can, we'll just have to kind of see how it goes. But the bonuses are 2-piece Rend gives 500% increased damage, as well as its duration is increased. very good 2-piece, that's a lot of damage. You need to remember though, you actually have to cast Rend yourself. So Whirlwind won't automatically apply it to start off with, you have to cast it yourself. 4-piece, when you do hit Whirlwind, you get 50% damage reduction. You also get triple Rend damage, so GR20 for the Barb is absolutely no-brainer, because 500% damage on 2-piece, then triple that damage on 4-piece, you will have crushing levels of Rend damage. It's very nice. When you get the 6-piece, Whirlwind gains Dust Devil Rune, completely meaningless. Whirlwind and Rend get 10,000% damage increase. Rend is pretty much what does your damage for a Whirlwind Barb, because you've also got those 2 other modifiers on it. But to start off with, because Whirlwind doesn't apply Rend, you still will benefit from a nice 10k damage mod on the Whirlwind. Tips initially at 70 as you're going through your season journey trying to unlock your 6-piece Haedrigs. Sage's set is craftable as soon as you get to 70, so I'll craft 3 pieces and whack them on my character straight away. Stats boost and double Death's Breaths is very helpful early on, and then as soon as I'm replacing them, the pieces, they're no longer useful to me, I'm passing them to my follower. Of course, you want to do your season journey ASAP, I think particularly for the Barb with Whirlwind, with the Wrath of the Waste set, because Rend is so strong on those 2 and 4 pieces, it is worthwhile doing. Bear in mind you can convert set items in the cube, particularly if you get lucky and you find yourself another couple of Wrath of the Waste pieces and you only have to do leg 1 and leg 2 of the journey to get 6, well, you'll be absolutely flying. Making a new level 1 Barbarian is always great to roll for blood shards, because the loot pool is so small at level 1. Things like Band of Might, things like Gold Wrap are very easy to pick up, maybe some other braces if you want to get those as well. In terms of spending my DBs when I get to 70, so my upgrades in the cube, I'm pretty much looking to pick up the Rend modifiers. So as I say, not Whirlwind. We don't want a Skullgrasp ring, we don't want any Whirlwind stuff. We just want an Ambo's Pride, so Whirlwind applies Rend. This is obviously a mighty weapon, one-handed mighty weapon. And then the only other modifier is the Lamentation Belt. Rend stacks twice and deals up to 150% damage. So a really cheap build to put together, because you just need your 6-piece Wrath of the Waste and these 2 items. We were clearing T16 with yellow items, no Paragon, so it is very powerful. Again, that video will be linked. Once I've got those 2 things, I'm moving on to pick up rings and amulets, so any level 70 rings that I either get from Kadala or I find, same for amulets, if I find any I'm putting them in the stash. And I'm upgrading them, looking for damage, so Convention of Elements, Stone of Jordan, Squirt's Necklace, or something like a Band of Might for some extra defense, just in case I haven't got one in my cube from my level 1 Barb. Some nice weapons to pick up are going to be the Messerschmitt's Reaver, 2-handed axe. It really does help with cooldown a lot. It's worthwhile and early extract into the cube, this one I think, again whilst you're looking for your Ambos, but Ambos is pretty much going to be the kicker. And the other weapons that you can get, mighty weapons, are the BK blades, because they automatically generate fury for you, which is just very helpful. Bloodshard spending, I'm going to go on Lamentation Belt. Again, this is a mighty belt, there's no way of separating belts out in the pool, so this is a bit fiddly to get, so by all means, when you're upgrading, if you don't have your Lamentation Belt, obviously you do need to get one done. Braces is another good place to spend shards, because you can get your Mortix brace, you can get your Raekor braces here, the Schoolars, which is pretty good. And then once I've filled out some braces I'm happy with, maybe a pair of Nemesis braces as well for my follower, and then moving on to finishing out any rings, trying to look for Conventional Elements, Stone of Jordan, Zodiac, those types of things. A general shopping list, I think, as well, for things that you need to be mindful of getting pretty early if you can. Getting a set of bounties done to get your Crimsons and Guardian plans. Because Whirlwind's Rend is quite strong to do T16 early on, you should have no problem getting a few sets of bounties bashed out. This will hopefully give you a Ring of Royal Grandeur, it'll hopefully give you an Avarice band for your follower. Obviously you need to start working on your legendary gems as well, so Taeguk, Powerful, Trapped, Boon of the Hoarder, those type of ones. You can work on your Lod Gem as well for Hota, but that's probably a little bit later on. Gold Wrap is always a good pickup, particularly once you've got the Boon of the Hoarder, it just makes T16 and rifting very easy. Z-Barb items I'm always looking out for, because it's just a fantastic way to get XP. And then later on endgame, We're moving on to Lord Hoter items. The main one is the Remorseless Mighty Weapon, which is going to be very powerful for that. In terms of your Sanctified Items, so what to do with your Angelic Crucibles, I would recommend using them as soon as possible. So as soon as you get one, use it. It's probably going to be a pretty good upgrade. Weapon is a fantastic choice because weapon obviously is where most of your damage comes from. Big damage, big stats, and for example like an Ambos, it's going to have a modifier. You might well have Ambos in the cube, so we don't necessarily need to worry about that too much, but still it's probably worthwhile going for a weapon because it will just add a lot. Another selection is potentially Lamentation Belt, so when you get your first Lamentation it might have a crappy roll on it. You can essentially pimp it out to be a primal one with the max modifier and again some pretty nice stats. Or consider using the early ones on utility items, Convention of Elements, Guardian set, Squirts, things you're going to be using in multiple builds basically, just to again get you going on whatever you want, but main thing is to use it ASAP. Some speed build options for Barb. We've talked a lot about Whirlwind. I've done a recent video showing just how powerful it is on T16. I've done Bounty Blaster in the past. It's quite a good build for low GRs. Really, it doesn't hit anywhere near as hard as Raekor. It doesn't hit as hard as Impale DH. So I do think it's going to take a bit of time to get your Barb up to snuff with the speed farming. But for low GRs for early game, it's a fantastic build. So you want to be working on your Whirlwind because it's the free sets, the starting one. I probably will be putting together Raekor for some speeds, and then I'm using those two things if I'm not Z-barbing to basically build my Legacy of Dreams Hoter endgame Super Giga Chad meta build, because it's going to absolutely crush stuff, which is going to be nice. Video links are in the description. Again, I was on holiday for PTR, so I didn't miss quite a bit of it, but we've got Whirlwind's T16 guide that I've just done. I did a Whirlwind T16 guide last season. I'll link the Bounty Blaster build guide, and I've also linked the Raekor T16 video, which doesn't need too many tweaks to be able to go and blast GRs pretty comfortably. As I say, I'm going to play a lot of Barb next season, so I will be updating guides. Certainly for the Lord Hoter, I'll probably be making a Z-Barb guide early in the season, so look out for those. Might do a Raekor guide. I'm not sure whether I'll be bothered because I do think it's a little bit clunky, but we'll sort of see how we go. And that's it. We've reached the end of the video. Thank you very much for staying. Thank you for listening. I hope that you found the video useful. Give me feedback. Do you like this video? Did you not? Is there any improvements? My main thoughts, I think, for updating these guides for next season is maybe some gameplay footage, maybe including the D3 planner links. But yeah, as I say, let me know. As always, like, subscribe. Super thanks, greatly appreciated. Just any help and support is absolutely pog. Really looking forward to season 27. I'll see you on there hopefully. Take it easy, guys. Peace.